Well, hey there, everybody. This is Kendra here, aka Meemaw, with the Busy Women Corporation. And I'm out and about today. It's Christmas Eve, so I had to get out and do some things. And I was thinking, since I will be in the van for a while, I might as well do another van chronicle. And today's van chronicle, I am going to talk about me being bald. So I haven't made a post about it in a while. I usually do it after I get quite a few new people on my friend list, just because the question comes up. So I just like to go on and mention it again to just let people know why I'm bald, so that well, just so they know, because people ask, right? And this morning I was thinking about two people who asked me recently, and they were kids. And so one asked me when I was at the Learning Academy, and he came up to me, and he was the cutest little boy, and he said, "Do you have the cancer?" I said, "I'm sorry?" He said, "Did you catch the cancer? Is that why you don't have any hair?" And so I had to tell him, "No, I don't have cancer. I have alopecia." And so he said, "Oh, okay." And then he ran off. And so another one was my nephew. I didn't get his parents' permission to share his name, so I won't say his name. I'll just say nephew. But my nephew, who is about as tall as me, if not taller, he came up to me and he put his arm on my shoulder and said, "Hey, Kendra, I hope it's okay that I ask you this, but I've been meaning to ask you this question." So I said, "What's up, nephew?" He said, "What you do to your hair? Like, why don't you have any hair anymore?" Oh man. And so that just made me crack up, because I haven't had hair for it since way before he was born. So he's never even known me with hair. He's seen pictures, I'm sure, of when I had hair, but he's never actually known me with hair. And so he said, "I just want to know, what did you do with your hair?" And so I told him, I said, "Well, my hair fell out. I have alopecia, and so in my late 20s, my hair just fell out, never grew back." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Okay." So I hope it's okay that I asked you that. I said, "Of course, of course." Yeah, and I told him I don't mind people asking me about it. I'd rather them ask than assume, right? Because, and I feel that way because when I first stopped wearing wigs, it was way back in 2016. So being bald, even though more women were bald at that time, it wasn't as, in my opinion, as fashionable as it is now. But immediately people would come up to me, with sadness in their eyes, clutching their hearts, telling me to keep fighting, the good fight. And, I have to, tell them I'm sorry, but, I don't have cancer. I have alopecia. So I had to explain what that is. Let them know, I welcome the prayers, but I don't have cancer, right? So I did a Facebook post at that time letting everybody on my friend list know, y'all, if you see me bald out here, it's not because I'm sick. I don't have cancer. I'm not going through chemotherapy. I have alopecia. And so, of course, now more women are wearing their hair bald. They're foregoing the wigs, which I love. But, of course, there's still that question. And also, some people, they talk about how brave I am to go without my wigs and things. And sometimes I think they get the impression that I woke up one morning and was like, you know what? I'm going to be a grown-up, and I'm just going to go out here and be myself, be my authentic self. And that's just not how it happened. So I wore wigs. I lost my hair like it all stopped growing back in about 2003. And it wasn't until 2015 when I decided to stop wearing wigs. But it wasn't until 2016 that I stopped. Because at the time I was working a corporate job. There was I just didn't want to go from wearing wigs all the time to being bald. So I didn't want that hassle. Anyway, but the decision came because I actually thought I was having a stroke. And it was one, I think I have mentioned it on my page several times before about how there were a few years where I was going to my doctor's office, the Kroger clinic, the CVS clinic, all these places several times, like at least once a day, getting my blood pressure checked because it stayed so high, and I stayed at stroke level, and we couldn't get my blood pressure down. And so one day when I was leaving work and I was going for my regular stop at the Kroger clinic before I picked my kids up, I felt like I was possibly having a stroke. I had never had a stroke before. I didn't know. I just knew I felt weird. I felt odd. And so I just kept praying, okay, God, I just need to get to the clinic, let them check my blood pressure to kind of calm me down, because I thought maybe my anxiety had kicked up. I got to the Kroger clinic, and she checked my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was indeed at stroke level. And she insisted that I go to the emergency room. But I couldn't because it was time to pick my kids up from school. And so I told her I don't have time right now, but I assured her that as soon as I pick my kids up from school, I am going to go to the ER. And so she gave me a blood pressure pill, made me sit there for a little bit to see if it would come down at all. And it started to creep down a little. So she was crying. I was like, that scared me when she was crying. I was like, oh Lord. But in my mind, all I knew was I gotta go get these kids from school, and I gotta get them home first. So I left the Kroger clinic, and I'm thinking, okay, well, God, if I'm having the stroke today, let me at least get the kids home and then get to the hospital, because I don't want to have a stroke at home. I didn't want it to happen around my kids. So I'm just praying all the way, praying. And I just felt God saying, okay, it was like I was planning my funeral in my head. And for some odd reason, the question came up in my head, so do you want to be buried with a wig on or not? And so, I'm in the car by myself, and I'm just thinking, I was like, well, no, I don't want to be buried with a wig. And so then the question came up in my heart, like, well, why are you waiting until you're dead to go without wearing a wig? Like, you're going to scare the people, for one, because you're wearing wigs all this time, and they come going to the casket, and here you are with a bald head. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would I wait until I'm dead to stop wearing wigs? And so I was like, okay, well, God, if you let me make it through this stroke, like, because in my mind the stroke is imminent, right? So, like, if you let me make it through this stroke, I'm gonna stop wearing wigs and just live whatever time I have left on this earth as myself. It's Kendra. I don't have any eyebrows. I do draw those on because it's not a pretty sight without eyebrows. I don't have eyebrows. I don't have eyelashes, and of course I don't have hair on my head. So I decided that day that I was going to finally put in, if I made it through that stroke, I was going to put in my notice at my job, because that's what the doctor was saying was the primary factor, was the stress on my job. I was going to put in the notice on my job, and I was going to stop wearing wigs once I quit. So I text my husband. I tell him, I asked him if he could take me to the emergency room when he gets home from work. So he said, yeah, he can. He was like, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'll be fine. Just, I just feel a little off. So thank God, I picked the kids up from school. got them home. Cause got changed and got my clothes changed and everything, and was waiting on my husband to get home, and then he took me to the ER. They got me checked in, everything. Thankfully, the blood pressure pill had kicked in, and my blood pressure had come down to where it was no longer at stroke level, but I was dehydrated. So they do all the things that they do when you go into the hospital. And then I left. I was able to go home that day. And so that's when we had the conversation about me going ahead and putting in my notice to leave. So the gist of the story is, the reason that I am so brave in wearing my bald head now is because in 2015 I thought I was getting ready to die, and I decided I did not want to be buried in a wig. And so I said, whatever time I have left on this earth, I'm going to live as my authentic self, and that included not wearing a wig. And so once I did leave my job and things, I did the day I quit my job, well, my last day on my job, I went home and I threw all my wigs in the trash. So I didn't even give myself an option to wear wigs anymore because they were all gone. And so if I have any encouragement for anybody, and it's not just about wearing your bald head, it's about anything that you keep putting off in life. Don't keep putting off the things that you want to do. Don't keep putting off being who you are, and definitely don't keep putting off being obedient to God, because our time on this earth is limited, and the last thing we want to do is get to the point where we are at the end of our life and we have all these regrets about things we should have done. I'm so thankful that I did have that moment in 2015 where I decided that I wasn't going to wait until I'm dead to allow people to see who I really am. And now here we are 10 years later, right? And still bald, still living. Glory be to God, still have not had a stroke. And my blood pressure is managed, right? I do take medication and things, but sometimes I think God gives us those wake-up calls to let us know your time is limited, and then give you the opportunity to decide what you're going to do with the time that you have left here on this earth. So at any rate, that's why I'm bald. That's why I'm brave enough to walk around with no wig on my head, and I have been loving every minute of it. I do not mind people asking me why I'm bald or how I lost my hair, but because I would rather them ask than assume that I have cancer, right? But anyway, y'all, that's all I have for today. I just wanted to share that with the new people on my page, to answer any questions people may have about me and my bald head, and to encourage people to live as your authentic self today. Don't wait until you're in your last days. Don't wait until it's too late. Do it today. Be yourself. All right, y'all. Till next time. Stay busy.